What's up everyone, Alex here. I am so happy to finally be on camera after so many weeks of being sick with the flu in September, but thankfully there were a lot of games that I've been playing, and you probably saw all the games I've been playing, and because all the reviews kind of came out over the past few days. And I just want to say sincerely from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for your patience and supporting the channel, even though I barely made any sort of content like the past month or so. Truly grateful. And I think this timing is serendipitous because October, I'm looking at it right now, there are 36 upcoming games that are really, genuinely, really good. Now, I want to note that several of these are remakes, and there's a number of console ports that are coming out in October, but there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of incredible RPGs of all kinds coming out. Whether you're a Japanese-style RPG fan or a Western-style RPG fan, there is something for you. That said, to make sense of all 36 of these games, I actually decided to basically balance things out and, mention the other 30 later on in the second half of this video and highlight 6 that I absolutely genuinely am excited for and really want to talk about in this video. And don't worry, if you're an RPG fan, you're gonna love my picks for these, especially if you're the kind that loves storytelling in games. Anyways, it is so nice to see you all, but let's get to the game, shall we? I just want to quickly mention Life is Strange Double Exposure because Max Caulfield holds a very special place in my heart, especially because I played this game before I moved to Oregon. And for anybody who played the original game, Life is Strange was actually set in the fictional town of Arcadia Bay in Oregon. Now that I'm living here, I'm really happy to see that Square Enix has decided to catch up to Max Caulfield's life in Life is Strange Double Exposure. And to be fair, one of the reasons why I don't want to talk about this game too much is because I don't really know much about it apart from the fact that Max is back. But even then, I still remember the adventures that I had with her. And for me, playing video games is more so the emotions that are tied to each specific game, whether it's the story or the memory of the gameplay, rather than very specific moments in the storytelling. And just being given the chance to catch up with Max Caulfield again is something that I am truly and genuinely looking forward to. And Life is Strange Double Exposure is coming out in early access on October 15th and October 29th for everyone else on PS5, Series X and S, and PC. So I know that a lot of you are RPG fans, and for me personally, there are times when I just don't want to go through the same kind of experience point / leveling grind, but I also want to experience a battle system that is very fulfilling, even though it may have some randomized elements here and there. And this is pretty much how I discovered deck building games, particularly in this game called Potionomics, which I played 2 years ago. And I'm happy to say that Potionomics is finally coming out on console, specifically PS5, Series X and S, and Switch, on October 22nd in this Masterwork collection. Now, before I talk about this game more, I want to let you know that all of the updates I'm about to talk about will arrive on the PC version for free if you already bought that version. I think the biggest deal to me about this, apart from the fact that you get a new romance partner, is the fact that the entire game is now fully voice acted. Now, if you're looking at the graphics right now, Potionomics is just a beautiful looking game with gorgeous animations that remind me a lot of animated films. This is next level stuff in terms of animation that really gives every single character some flavor and attitude. But going back to the deck building part though, you're not actually battling people to defeat them. You're actually trying to haggle them to pay a higher price, which is even funnier if you think about it. And of course, you get a lot of these cards by befriending and romancing different partners and the people that you meet, which is really fantastic. And I don't think I've mentioned the fact that it is also a shopkeeping simulator on top of all of this. And the story is really, really good as well. It's very heartwarming. It's very charming. I don't want to say it's cozy because a lot of people sling that word around like it's $1 million or something. But all I'll say is that Potionomics Masterwork Edition is going to be one of those games that you'll truly deeply enjoy, even if this is your first deck builder. It certainly is the one that I really gravitated towards heavily, and I'm actually looking forward to playing through this game again, now with full voice acting. I know I cover a lot of JRPGs on the channel, but I want to let you know that I'm also a very, very huge Dragon Age fan. In fact, I bought Dragon Age Origins on every single platform it came out on. That's how big of a fan I am. In fact, I still have the collector's edition guide for it. So when I saw Dragon Age the Veilguard and how it's trying to combine the action gameplay of Mass Effect with the classical elements of the Dragon Age series, I somehow knew it was going to be good, but I didn't think it was going to be this good where a lot of people are proclaiming that this is the return of Dragon Age. And for better optics, I do want to say that Dragon Age, compared to Mass Effect, is actually the more popular series of the two. And I know you wouldn't think that because Mass Effect is more mainstreamy because it's got shooting elements to it, but yes, there's a lot of work being put into this particular game. I honestly can't wait to play this and continue my journey because I'm one of those weird people that actually didn't like Inquisition, and to some degree, part 2 was a little bit better. I know that's sacrilege, and I know that sounds really even more confusing because the Veilguard is moving towards a more action-y direction, but there is something about the trailers and the way that Dragon Age the Veilguard is being talked about that gives me a lot of hope because I just have a genuine love for this series and I want it to succeed. I want every game to succeed, but Dragon Age holds a very special place in my heart, and I want it to succeed. And the game is coming out on October 31st on PS5, Series X and S, and PC. Ys 10 Nordics is one of my most anticipated RPGs of 2024, and the reason why that is because, yes, there's ship combat, which is brand new to the series, but there's a promise that we're returning the series back to why Ys 8 was such a popular and beloved game in the series. Like, I expect it to have tighter combat feels, so it's not as crazy freeform as it was in both Ys 8 and Ys 9, especially because you have Karja, who is attached to you, that you can basically like switch between those two characters willy-nilly. And I expect to explore a lot of different islands, have the same kind of exploration as we did in like Ys 8. And I know I'm mentioning Ys 8 a lot because I really do genuinely love that game, and I really hope that Ys 10 hits those marks because those are very high marks. And yes, this game is coming out in October 25th specifically, on PlayStation platforms, Switch, and PC. So, Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven. I released a video on this talking about the demo impressions that I had, and that was quite the big impression. So, Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven is a remake of a Super Nintendo game, of course, from the SaGa series, and a lot of people know the SaGa series as this very experimental sibling to Final Fantasy. In fact, if you look at the recently released remaster of Romancing Saga 2, you might even confuse it for the old school Final Fantasies. But what's great about this remake of Romancing Saga 2, which I discovered playing through the demo, is that this is actually being remade by the same awesome people responsible for remaking Trials of Mana. And if you play that game, you know how awesome that game really is. And they're taking a very special approach to remaking Romancing Saga 2 by really faithfully recreating as much of the original as possible and voice acting to boot. And I mentioned that the SaGa series is experimental. Well, much like many games in the series, you have life points where if one character's life points deplete to 0, they're gone for good. And there's also this really interesting inheritance mechanic that I thought originated from Phantasy Star 3 Generations of Doom, but apparently the SaGa series has just been doing this for a long time now. And I'm really interested in seeing how that gimmick works out. And there's also news of base building. Can you tell I'm just really excited for this game? Because we're talking about an old school JRPG, which is probably going to be filled with lines of dialogue that were written with brevity in mind, because of course they didn't have a lot of space back in the Super Nintendo days, and still deliver what is essentially a great gameplay experience, especially if you're a huge RPG fan like I am. I highly recommend checking out my video talking about this demo, which of course allows you to carry over your save to the full game, when that comes out on October 24th on PS5 and Switch. Speaking of demos, I have been playing the demo for Metaphor ReFantazio recently, and my goodness. The best way that I can describe Metaphor ReFantazio is it is like Persona, but reverse. And the reason why I say that is because the people who exist in Metaphor ReFantazio see our world as a world that's written in their fantasy books, which is a very interesting dichotomy if you think about it. Otherwise, their version of personas are called archetypes, which aren't exactly the same thing, but function almost similarly. They function more like different classes and jobs like in Final Fantasy and other similar games than anything else. But there's no doubt there's a lot of influence from the creator's previous experience in those games. The characters are very personable, I love the writing in the game, and I love the synergy between action combat and turn-based gameplay, which feels a lot tighter when you compare it to Trails Through Daybreak, which also had a very similar system. And you know what's crazy about this? It won't be long until we actually get to play the game, when it comes out on October 11th on PS4, PS5, Series X and S, and PC. If you want more info about the game, check out my impressions of the demo. And here are the rest of the games coming out in October. Master Detective Archives Raincode Plus, an enhanced port of the mystery game made by the makers of Danganronpa, is coming out on October 1st on PS5 and Series X and S. This enhanced port is already out on PC. Check out my review of the original release on the Nintendo Switch. Refine Self, the personality test game, an old-school style adventure game that analyzes your actions to estimate your personality, is coming out on October 3rd on the Switch. The game is already out on PC and mobile. Sword Art Online, Fractured Daydream, an action RPG that's marked as a departure from the 10th anniversary of the series, is coming out on October 3rd on PS5, Series X and S, Switch, and PC. Exploding Kittens VR, a minigame collection that you can play up to 5 players online or against bots, is coming out on October 3rd on MetaQuest. Foam Stars, the fun, kooky multiplayer shooter, goes free to play on October 4th on PlayStation platforms. Until Dawn, one of my favorite survival horror games of the PS4 era, is getting remade, and it's coming out on October 4th on PS5 and PC. Kind Words 2, a game about being kind to real people, is coming out on October 7th on PC. Silent Hill 2, the fan-favorite entry in this long-running survival horror series, is being remade, and it's coming out in early access on October 6th, and everyone else on October 8th on PS5, Series X and S, and PC. Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred, the next chapter in the saga of Diablo 4, is coming out on October 8th on PS5, Series X and S, and PC. A port of the heartfelt adventure game To the Moon is coming out on October 8th on PS5 and Series X and S. Sky Oceans, Wings for Hire reminds me a lot of Skies of Arcadia, and this RPG is coming out on October 10th on PS5, Series X and S, Switch, and PC. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero builds on top of the popular Budokai Tenkaichi series of fighting games, and it's coming out on October 11th on PS5, Series X and S, and PC. Europa, a chill and cozy adventure game that's all about exploration and meditation, is coming out on October 11th on all modern platforms. RPG Maker With, the latest entry in the popular RPG making series of games, is coming out on October 11th on Switch. The game is also coming out on PlayStation platforms and PC in the future. Neva, an action-adventure game from the folks who brought you Gris, is coming out on October 15th on PS5, Series X and S, Switch, and PC. The console ports for 8-Bit Adventures 2 are coming out on October 16th on all modern platforms. Check out my review of the PC version of the game, which is out right now. Super Mario Party Jamboree, the latest game in the Mario Party series, is coming out on October 17th, only on the Nintendo Switch. The Switch port of the action RPG Eternites is finally coming out on October 17th. Blazing Strike, a fighting game inspired by Capcom and SNK's Greatest, is coming out on October 17th on PlayStation platforms, Switch, and PC. Factorio Space Age, the upcoming spacefaring expansion to the popular Factory Sim, is coming out on October 21st on PC. Wilder Myth, a character-driven, procedurally generated tactical RPG, is coming out on October 22nd on all modern platforms. The game is already out on PC. The Switch port of Yakuza Kiwami is coming out on October 24th. The remake of Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8, and yes, I played the strategy game a long time ago, is coming out on October 24th on PlayStation platforms, Switch, and PC. Shin-Chan, Shiro and the Coal Town is a fun adventure game that has you traveling between two worlds, and that's coming out on October 24th on Switch and PC. Date Everything, a quirky dating sim that literally lets you date everything, is coming out on October 24th on PS5, Series X and S, Switch, and PC. Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, a compilation that has a small section featuring Keanu Reeves reprising his role as Shadow from the upcoming movie, is coming out on October 25th on all modern platforms. Neptunia Game Maker Revolution lets you manage a game company amidst its turn-based combat mechanics, and it's coming out on October 29th on PlayStation platforms and Switch. The return of Shadows of the Damned in its hella remastered edition, which brings back the wonderfully named Garcia Hotspur as he stylishly shoots down a bunch of bad guys, and is a Suda51/Shinji Mikami classic by the way, is coming out on October 31st on all modern platforms. Clock Tower Rewind, a fantastic remake of the original game that's being released in the West for the first time ever, is coming out on October 31st on all modern platforms. And that, my friends, are the games coming out in October. Now tell me, which games are you picking up? Post your thoughts in the comments below and let's talk about it. But I don't want you to miss two games that I reviewed, especially if you're an RPG fan. Those games are Bloomtown: A Different Story, which is basically Earthbound meets Persona 5, and Beyond Galaxyland, which reminded me a lot of Out of This World. That's another world for you Europeans out there. You can find both of them right here, so go check them out. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.